You ever see this guy with the pillows on Fox? My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. He is the greatest. The My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. And he's been with us right from the beginning.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm here live from the White House. And before we even get started, we're going to talk a lot about election platforms, maybe even give you a little update on me running for governor of Minnesota or not. And but for right now, I want to tell you about My Pillow. I wanted to get this special in for all of you. If the Percale sheet line, these are our sheets, My Pillow bed sheets. This is a closeout sale it's an exclusive. You guys, I need you to use the promo code LTV. You can use that promo code, Lindell TV, LTV. And once they're gone, they're gone. These are king size that are normally $119.98, queen size normally $99.98. The best sheets ever. They're $29.88. Any size, any color. Any size, any color. And I believe that promo code, I can't see the bottom of the screen there, but it's promo code LTV, I believe. Let me see here. Hold on. Yeah, and then I'm going to read you guys off the phone number. The phone number also, I want you guys to call it 800-873-1062. You can call, use that promo code, or no, that's the one. Okay. Can you see the number on there? Can you give me the number? I can't see it. The screen's too low. Yep. 2147. Okay, everybody. So take advantage of this sale. This is you guys can go to mypillow.com, use the promo code LTV, or call 800-676-2147. You guys, we're getting ready. We're closing out this line because we need the funds to be able to get our flannels in for this season. As you know, they got My Pillow on cash everywhere because we've been attacked so bad. D-Bank, D-Platform, you name it, it's happened. And this is an advantage for all of you to get these Split Kings, Cal Kings, at any size, $29.88 with that promo code LTV. Once again, and these are the most awesome sheets, you guys, any size, any color. Call 800-676-2147. Okay, and then also I want to tell you all, you can bring it back to me now. When you get to our website now at lindelltv.com, you all see up above that we're publicly traded. I wanted to tell you all this. We have, when I started Lindell TV back in the spring of 2021, because all the media, in fact, it's funny, here I am at the White House, they just had a big gaggle. I said, you go back to it just even a year ago, every one of them would be coming at you. Mike, you're a conspiracy theorist. These machines are just fine, these voting machines. Now they're all silent, every one of them, because they know I was right. The information that's pouring out of here, pouring out of D.C. with Tulsi Gabbard, the president's new executive orders and all this stuff going on. We're going to talk about that today, how we're still getting blocked out there. We're going to talk with Patrick Kolbeck in a minute. But I just want to tell everybody, so that was the reason I formed Lindell TV back in the day, was so we do have get to have the biggest voice in history. We're going to keep growing. We have two White House correspondents here. One's at the Capitol today, Allison and Kara. And remember, we also have, great Emerald Robinson. We got Dr. Maria. We've got Silk, Diamond and Silk. Silk is carrying on where they helped us start Lindell TV back in the day. And we got all these great shows. And we also have Mayor Rudy Giuliani, everybody, the mayor's show. And by the way, you've all probably heard about his serious car accident. That happened over the weekend here. And Ted was driving, his assistant, Ted Goodman, and the guy just hit him, rear-ended him, and they're in the hospital. But he is going to do his show here tonight. So on Lindell TV, he's going to do his show. He's a warrior. And the president, by the way, put out, giving him the highest award you can get for the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award. And the highest you can get as a civilian, and because he's been the greatest mayor this country's ever seen, amongst other things. But what I was all telling you about is we are publicly traded. Lindell TV is publicly traded. I want you all to be a part of the biggest voice ever as we grow. So the call letters are MLMC. That's Mike Lindell Media Corp. Or you go to any of the platforms and just put in Mike Lindell stock. It's MLMC. Publicly traded. We did a reverse merger last summer. So you can all be a part of that. I wanted to get to those two things in there. So Mike, you're always selling. You guys, we've in order to grow, this is what we have to have. This is what we need to do. We've got to everybody get involved, and this time around, we have to have a voice, and we're going to learn why in a minute here. And if we get interrupted, our president inside, he's going to be doing another press big thing inside the Oval Office today. So if that cuts in, we're going to cut right to him. In the meantime, let's bring on Patrick Colbeck. Hey, Patrick, how you doing?
All right.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
For the White House. Yeah.
Right on. That's awesome. Okay, everybody. Here's what I was just talking before you came on, Patrick, to Kara. You guys, we were doing the DC live here, and Kara asked me a question. She goes, "Well, Mike, how are you ever going to get California or New York or these Democrat places to go along with paper ballots hand counted?" And I looked at her. I said, "Kara," I said, and she goes, "Don't we have to just get the swing states?" I said, "This isn't about just swing states or about Republicans or Democrats. This is about saving our country forever. Yeah, this is about saving the world. It all comes down to our election platforms. And our great president inside that White House will tell you that is his number one thing right now. It's number one. It always really has been. Everything comes down to our elections, and we all know what can happen with stolen elections. But Patrick, what I was telling Kara was, we don't get blocked. What stands out the most is getting blocked by these uniparty Republicans. It always has, everybody. Things that don't make sense. This is your Alabamas, your Arkansas, your South Dakotas, your Missouris, your these red states, your Texas, all these places. You get these uniparty Republicans that come up and they go, no. We love our machines. We love ES&S and Dominion and Smartmatic. It's disgusting. And she said, well, when she asked me that question, I said, we need a breakthrough. We need to set a precedence wherever that's at. And Patrick, I brought it up to her. I said, before the China virus, I even said China virus in front of all the reporters here. Boy, they don't even want to talk to me, Patrick. You could say anything. I can say anything now. They don't even pay attention to me. They are, because Mike was right. It's like you made that one thing that time. We've always been right, everybody, about our elections. And remember, 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines. Over 100 have banned mail-in voting and early voting. And what I was saying that with these states, and you being an ex senator with him in Michigan, then you would know this. For our election platforms for each state, the legislatures make the laws, not the Secretary of States. Is that correct, Patrick?
Right. that's what the U.S. Constitution tells us. Is that the
right.
Yep, it's supposed to be a state matter and governed
Right.
by the legislature. And too often, you have these international money bags like Mr. George Soros and crew that come in and try to take over the Constitution via ballot initiatives with all this foreign money, and they try to steal our voice at the polls.
Right.
And so,
Well,
yeah,
right,
push back.
right, but right. What I want to say there, though, is say what I said to Kara before the China virus. When the China virus came in, all these states, and I don't know the number, everybody. I want to say 49 out of 50 maybe changed their rules because of the China virus, and only one state that I know of where the Attorney General pushed back on all these crooked Secretary of States that we have to deal with. The Secretary of States across the country, I think I only know of 3 of them, Patrick, now that I would trust to for anything, and that's fact. It really is. And these are red ones, blue ones, it don't matter. But these Secretary of States, everybody, in the 2020 election, they put in all this garbage because of the China virus. And when they did that, they did it illegally. Only one Attorney General that I know of, which was Attorney General Ken Paxton of Texas, where he fought 12 cases in the spring of 2020 and won every one of them. So otherwise, Texas was going to be stole, everybody, by the machine. They filled 2 million ballots later on that was going to all go in. They punch it in the machine. Here come the ballots, and Texas is gone. And that was their plan. Now, if he wouldn't have done that, I'm telling you, Texas would have been stolen. As it was, they stole 1 million votes from Texas anyway in the 2020 election, second only to California, 1.5 million. But what I'm saying is, of all those states, he is the only one that stood up. These states, and Michigan was just like every other state. You were Republican controlled then, and none of the Republicans, if I'm right, Patrick, did a dang thing for the 2020 election other than let the Secretary of States and the crooked secretary put in all this garbage into our states' elections. And this was across the board, everybody. Everybody ready for this? 13 states have returned to somewhat prior to the China virus their election platforms. I don't know. And so, Patrick, am I saying that right? Like let's just talk Michigan. I know you were Republican controlled at that time in the legislature. Is that correct?
Yeah, both the House and the Senate were controlled by Republicans.
Right. And now in Michigan, I know it was devastating to the state of Michigan after the 2020 election. They're going, wow, all is lost. You guys had corrupt, or I'll say, I don't want to call them corrupt, cowardly Republicans there that wouldn't do anything in both the House and the Senate. And didn't your Secretary of State, your crooked Secretary of State, I forget her name, yeah, and then your Attorney General, of course, was that Dana Nessel?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. She didn't do anything to stop the corruption that went into the 2020 election. Is that correct? Did they add anything like early voting and all this stuff to Michigan? Correct. Well, use Michigan for an example today.
They've got a criminal complaint directory at the Attorney General's website. So if you identify an instance or you have evidence of election fraud, if you go up to the Attorney General's website and type in the complaint directory election fraud, it pops back and says, uh-oh, sorry, we don't have anybody who can help you on that topic. So it's every other topic in the world, but not that. And you're right. And it was feckless Republicans that were the biggest problem. You may recall, and you've seen it in all these lawsuits all across the country, we had this Michigan Senate report that was put out that said there's no evidence of widespread election fraud. That was their conclusion. And despite all the evidence we were providing them, that they did not even take into consideration. They listened to the machine manufacturers because they had they listened to all the buzzwords that they put out. They said that they were air gapped. They fed them a whole bunch of lies, and they didn't want to look ignorant by questioning that. So they just went along with the program, and that's the problem. And as a result, by the way, Michigan is now solidly blue across the board because you guys didn't take a stand at the time.
Right. Well, you know what? And I'm going to tell you that, Patrick, that's a blessing that they didn't. And I'm going to say this to everybody. This is how we got here. I want you can all go to lindelltv.com and watch how we got here. These were the miracles that at the time you thought were devastating. So wake up, Michigan. Now they stole all that. They stole your Senate and your House and your legislatures. All that was stolen. This is what they were going for, the big steal across the country. So Michigan, but just think, your uniparty Republicans or your cowardly Republicans weren't doing anything anyway. If, Patrick, the first thing came out of it was Antrim County, Michigan. I spent a lot of time in Antrim County. This is when you guys, the first hope, we called it back then, came out to the country. The first spark of hope going. Everybody heard about Antrim County, Michigan, and the people coming up from Texas. Those cyber guys coming up from there. I forget what his name is. Russ Ramsland, ASOD. They come up from there and they find all this. And Conan Hayes finds the stuff on the tape and go, hey, this is machine fraud. And they bring it in. They try to put it on. There was human stuff done in that too that was intentional. But the FBI comes in. They don't do anything. This was washed under the table, everybody, by what's the guy's name that was in my trial? Alex Halderman, everybody. Yeah. So Alex Halderman, this just came up in May, everybody, where Alex Halderman, he comes out with a report that says, yeah, there were problems with the machines. Well, then he's going to comes out with this report, and he puts down those guys from Azov, and he changes it up, and there's still the machines in there. Then the next day, he meets with the CEO of Dominion and the crooked Secretary of State of Michigan. And the next day after that comes out with a new report, and the machines have been scrubbed off. It was all about human error and with paper ballots. It's disgusting. It's a big lie.
Here's a dirty little secret on that. I actually did a very detailed line by line, assertion by assertion analysis of Halderman's report in Antrim County and compared it with ASOG and some other reports that were done analyzing what happened in the election. You know what? The dirty little secret is Halderman agreed with Russ Ramsland and crew more often than he did not. And they didn't talk about that. Right. He just did the
they did.
In the preamble and the exec summary and in the conclusion, but in the body, kind of like Stockholm syndrome a little bit. He agreed with.
He agreed with everything. Right, but everybody, and then we're just using Michigan for a quick example, everybody. Michigan, 106,000 votes come down for Biden in the middle of the night, and 3,000 for Donald Trump, and I'm paraphrasing whatever it was, but it was a huge, it was an impossibility, but they made us believe it because they said, oh, those darn mail-in votes, those Democrats, boy, they got all their votes. You guys, the Michigan, the mail-in votes were counted on the morning of the 3rd, not the middle of the night on the 4th. But I've said this a million times. These were all blessings, because if we would have overturned it all back then, we wouldn't have found out what everything that went on, and that we have to 100% get rid of the voting machines. We know now where the problems lie. We know who the blockers are. And this continues. See, right now, Patrick, it's like all this media that's here, none of them will talk to me because they know. They know now. 100%. Oh, no, is it because Tulsi Gabbard's saying it now as we turned in all the evidence last February to this administration? Yeah. Here it is. We've had it. Everybody, the evidence has been out there right here on Lindell TV, posted inside the machines. You can all look. I'm hoping that that one of these guys, one of these days, will look at the Dennis Montgomery evidence and see everything that happened there, and then interview him. Patrick, I really think they should take him in and interview him. They wouldn't allow these things in my trial in May. But anyway, that's another story. What's going on right now?
Yeah, I find myself going back in the archives of all the information that was flooding, all the evidence that was flooding my way and your way in the wake of that 2020 election. And now it's kind of like the biblical expression that says you find new treasures out of old. You go back into a lot of those communications, and people like yourself, Sidney Powell, and others were over the target the whole time. And so now,
100%, we had 100%, we had all the evidence.
Tulsi said something,
right? And that and our president has told you all he's going to get rid of the machines that go to paper ballots and count it. Now, this is what we're having this episode. Here I am in D.C. Guys, guess what I'm here for? You know what? I got different meetings set up all over. It's to secure our elections. I've never stopped fighting for that. I'm going to be letting you all know if I'm going to be running for governor of Minnesota, but obviously, I want it to be a secure elections, and I believe we're going to have this. The president said before 2026, the midterm, but we need to do it before the primaries, everybody. But we'll be talking about that, about Waltz in Minnesota and all the nonsense going up there that he's,
Mike,
I mean, he's actually.
Mike, something if you to watch out for if you do run. Just remember that when I ran for governor in Michigan, I saw the election results on Politico.com the day before.
Right. Well, that was one of the things, I think, helping running will expose a lot of that. You guys, we have a huge bigger voice than we had 4 years ago. And they, like I said at the start of the show, you all need to get to be a part of that. You should go. We're Lindell TV. We are publicly traded on the over-the-counter, the OTC, the over-the-counter market. The stock symbols are MLMC, everybody. Get involved. I can't stress it enough. Get involved. We're going to expand. We're going to be the biggest voice ever. We need our voices out there for the good things that are going on and even the bad, so we can report it, so that the things that are going on. There you go. Go to LindellTV.com. You can click up on the top and learn more, everything about Lindell TV going public. But I want to say this, Patrick, because we're going to talk about the current blockers in a moment. What we're going to be doing here on Lindell TV, on my show especially, is calling out the blockers. We are not going to let our great president's 4 years here be in vain. And I'm telling you, we've got just months to get this done. And he's going to be working hard on getting new executive orders out. But the previous one he put out, you guys, let's just start with different states here. Arkansas, that's always a good one. Sarah Sanders Huckabee, what are you doing down there? The stuff that's been down there in Arkansas that they've had to fight. And then they had one county, even though they tried to defund every county in Arkansas if they went to paper ballots. That was their big thing that Kim Hammers did, everybody. Republican named Kim Hammers. And we're going to start calling these people out. We're going to be putting up their emails, their phone numbers, not their cell phones, but find out, have people reach out to them and say, why are you doing this? We, the people, want paper ballots hand counted. Patrick, there's a poll that we just did in Minnesota for me running, but one of this was a kind of a separate poll. And it said, what are your main issues you're concerned about? And election platforms, secure election, made the cut into the top 3. And that's in Minnesota. A lot of places in this country, it's number 1. Where would it be number 1, an example? Well, how about Georgia? Georgia is their number 1 concern. But you know what? It should be everybody's number 1 concern. It should be the old economy. Those are all, they all come from our elections, right? You got your economy, the borders, abortion, all these different things, education, all these different things manifest from we're able to vote in politicians. If they do a bad job, you need to be able to vote them out. Can't do that with electronic voting machines, everybody. It doesn't happen. Ask all these other 132 countries that ban these voting machines. So what we got are blockers, and we're going to go over it as soon as, Patrick, you're going to give us a report on as you pull up all the news on the elections, but I'm going to point out the current blockers, everybody. I just got a big report. Like I say, Sarah Sanders, she's still doing a great job of blocking down in Arkansas. And then you move over to Louisiana. That's disgusting there in Louisiana. The Secretary of State there, her last name is Landry, not to be confused with or related to Jeff Landry, a good friend of mine, the governor, who fought side by side with me as the Attorney General to get rid of the machines with the then corrupt Secretary of State, Carl Ardwin. They're all Republicans, everybody. And now all of a sudden, he doesn't take my texts. He won't return my calls. I don't know, Governor, where are you out there? Let's talk about Louisiana, because I'm not going to stop. This great president wants to get rid of these machines, not have your Secretary of State buy more machines. Well, I'm going to do the bidding. I'm going to check on the bidding. I'm going to find out what the best machine companies are. And by their little thing there, and most states have it, they're supposed to get the best deal, so to speak, which makes this move over. And everybody, this is breaking news. We're going to have a lot more for you later. The Secretary of State of Alabama. Okay. Let's just move over to Alabama. Wes Allen. Well, the reports there is they're actively seeking new machines or they did get them, and they went to ES&S, who by the good old boys out of Omaha, Nebraska, and that's not even the best bid. So that's kind of weird. What's up with that, Patrick? I mean, what, we're going to check into it. We have our teams on the ground checking into it, but I mean, boy, there'd be a lot of explaining to do if the only criteria you're basing it on is who can give you the best price, and you're taking number 3 in line rather than, or the highest price rather than 2 that beat it. You follow me? There's a lot of funny stuff going on in Alabama, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And we're going to report this person every single day if it takes that. That's what we're going to have. We're going to have on my show, everybody, and I'm going to try to always do this. For 10 minutes a day, we're going to have the blocker of the day. The blockers. Every day. Who are the blockers? And what I mean by blockers. And, I got sued for calling people traitors and all this stuff for the Dominion voting machines, right? Or that guy calling him a traitor. Well, what are you if you're blocking something for the American people? I don't know. Are you a traitor or not? That's subjective. I think you are. I think all of you are. When our president and the people want paper ballots hand counted, they want secure elections, and you're sitting there blocking this, what are you called? I don't know. We'll just call them blockers for now. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you're really stupid. Maybe you got, you got to be the dumbest politician in history that you don't watch the news and watch what happened in all of our elections. You don't hear stuff like a Democrat getting 0 votes in her own precinct. You might be watching too much Fox News, Newsmax, or Salem Media, where they don't talk about election platforms. And they probably won't. We're going to hear it long from the media on the left before we'll ever hear from Fox News, Newsmax, or Salem Media that there's problems with the machines and problems in our election platforms, and we need to go to paper ballots and count it. That's, so my advice there is, anybody that's watching those channels say, we don't have a problem with our the problem is mail-in voting, or the problem is it. No, the problem is the electronic voting machines. You can't, computers used in our election, which includes mail-in voting. Talk to Utah or Oregon. Here's your mail-in voting. The whole state, it's all mail-in voting. They just mail it in. You just type in a computer, and the winner is, like you said, Patrick, they know the winner before that week. It's all programmed in. So
via the fake data in these computer databases, these state voter registration databases that, by the way, in Michigan, by contract, they're actually required to interface with the tabulators. And so it's a one-stop shop. If you have access to the tabulators, you have access to the voter rolls, and vice versa. That's how a 170-year-old Civil War veteran by the name of Jason Lemoyne Daniel had an opportunity to receive a ballot and cast a vote in the 2020 election. He did it via mail-in vote, but I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure he didn't show up to the clerk's office to ask for his absentee ballot here. That had to be done via the computer, via these databases, and to this day, there's still no explanation for how a 170-year-old gets to vote.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And here, you guys, this happened in every county in our country. When I went down to Alabama that time, you've all heard the story with Crooked John Merrill, Secretary of State, Republican in Alabama, went down there the summer of 21 and said, John, you got 4,662 people that voted here in Alabama that are over 110 years old. And he looked at me and said, well, Mike, we live pretty good here in Alabama. What did he do? He went and bought more machines to monitor the machines, more computers. I mean, this is nonsensical. And, our president just put out another statement the other day. You're going to have voter ID. Well, you know what? They're pretty much going to eliminate mail-in ballots, okay? He said there'll be exceptions for if there's handicap or overseas UACAVA votes. By the way, everybody, our UACAVA votes should go back to physical mail, not by email. We know now almost 90% of the UACAVA vote in the 2020 election went to Biden. Think about that. Our military. I went all over this country, everybody. I went and met with people in the middle of the night, flew in. They were so afraid. These are county clerks that showed this. And here's what we've seen. And all the ballots match. This is the UACAVA mail-in, emailed. It has to go back. Biden, Obama put this in. It's got to be rescinded, everybody.
Yeah, the UACAVA voting now, our Secretary of State, Michigan Jocelyn, we will come for you, Benson, has just unilaterally decided that she's going to allow internet voting for UOCAVA for military ballots now. So she's actually skipped past the whole idea of sending in a physical ballot now and gone right
Well,
to
that's what they
voting system via the phone.
right, and that's what that's what we're up against. That's what they want to do with everything, right? That's where they're headed, and they remember everybody. They tested a few counties. I believe it was Oregon or Utah. And it was not the 2020 election. It was a different election, but they tested texting in your vote. Now, everybody think about that. Yeah, are you hearing this, Tim Cook? Can you believe it? You're going to see everybody's votes before anybody else, Tim. Isn't that great? By the way, Tim Cook's the CEO of Apple, everybody, just so you know. Remember how you can make an Apple phone, and boy, you'd never be able to get it. The guy that puts the last screen, that lasted a whole month. Every single thing, the computer in them has a back door. Okay, everybody, these elections, we've got to go. Well, Patrick, I want you to pull up some news. We're going to get news. I think I gave the two biggest blockers right now. Uniparty Republicans blocking right now. I think Secretary of State Landry out of Louisiana, Secretary of State Wes Allen out of Alabama, and then you got to move over to Arkansas, and we'll say that we're going to just call out the governor right there, because I think the president's going to. If I'm him, I'm calling out all these red governors across the country and saying, what's wrong with you guys? We need to do this now. You guys can lead the way, not block us on getting it done. Once there's a precedent, the people of places like Oregon, California, Hawaii, and Maine, they want secure elections too. Patrick, so many of them places we have teams on the ground. They brought up the Democrats there and the liberals there in the inner cities of your Portland stuff. Oh yeah, we think Elon Musk used a computer and stole it from Donald Trump. You know what? I've said it before. I wouldn't trust any election ever done with a computer, knowing what I know. I'm all about getting rid of them altogether. Then everybody can be, okay, I trust the election. I'm okay with whoever wins as long as it's an election, not a selection. You don't have to go too far to find that out everywhere. I'm right here in D.C. They see now, and by the way, everybody, you see all the comments coming down out of here in D.C. I just walked down the streets. I had to walk over about a mile and a half this morning. I go all the way around the city walking. Here I am, Mike Lindell in a suit, no protection, whatever. I don't say it. It was a different feeling. It's a different feeling here right now. I can say it firsthand. People are coming up to me like normal cities, want pictures, whatever. I'm not getting, so where I was getting before, somewhat attacked by a few people, didn't happen. It's I can already feel that feeling. And you know what I've seen on TV, everybody, on your CNNs of the world, everyone there, and even the mayor of D.C. about a week ago said, you know what? It ain't bad. It's working. He had to give our great president Donald Trump a compliment. You guys, the mayor gave him that gave our president the compliment. So you're hearing this, but you're not going to see. If we've seen right now on Fox, Newsmax, and Salem Media, if they actually started speaking out, going, "Hey, we need to do what the president wants." Go to paper ballots, hand counted, and they would be the outlets calling out your Wes Allens of the world and your Landry in Louisiana, the Secretary of State there, and calling out Sarah Huckabee. These outlets, though, the public goes, all the ones that are watching, you're still watching Fox and Newsmax and Salem Media, they would say, "Hey, you guys, why aren't you politicians going along with our great president? Why are you fighting back on our elections?" That's what we need, Patrick. It can't be you guys said, you know what? Maybe that's never going to happen. That gives you another reason to get involved here at Lindell TV. So remember, publicly traded, MLMC, get involved. Be part of our team, be part of our growth, and it's going to be amazing. But Patrick, I'm going to turn it over to you now. I want a report of you've been giving me. Patrick's been giving me a daily, almost a weekly report. I don't get a lot of time to read it, Patrick. I apologize, but these are what's going on around the world, around the country with our elections, with their election, other sit with our elections. We all want to get to the same goal: secure elections. You ain't gonna get it through. We got chain of custody. We got all this stuff. Well, we have paper ballots. Let me tell you, every single state in the United States and county has all been any county that has the machine, which if you have paper ballots and they're counted on a computer, an electronic tabulator, it's as corrupt as the next one over. If you have electronic polling books, it's as corrupt as the next one over. They're all on the internet. Go ahead, Patrick.
Well, first I'm going to put in a plug for the Lindell report. A lot of people have been lamenting the shift in politics for folks like the Drudge Report, where it's totally, instead of being a trusted source for news, it became something that was pretty much useless. So in the wake of that, through the Lindell TV platform, you've created the Lindell Report. And if you go to, you can go to it directly at lindellreport.com, and I encourage everybody to take a peek at that, because that's where we're going to be getting breaking news stories. We've already got one heck of a portfolio of breaking news stories out at lindellreport.com, and it's only going to get better as time goes on, guys. Right now, you got the same content that you'd see via the old version of the Drudge Report, kind of just a stream of different stories. And one of those stories is one that I submitted recently, Mike, that maybe we can delve into, because I think it's topical, because it deals with the false narratives we've been fed around these machines for so long. But the Lindell Report, if you guys haven't bookmarked it to start your morning off, I highly recommend going to it. And so, Mike, one of the stories on Lindell Report, and it's kind of item one on the list that I shared out with everybody, is an example of how you're pulling out new treasures out of old. You remember back in December 15, 2020, the CEO for Dominion, John Polis, testified before the Michigan Senate Oversight Committee under oath. And during that testimony, he made some assertions around the machines, around Dominion voting systems, that there's a significant body of evidence that tells everybody that all those assertions were false, or at least by our count, there were 15 counts of perjury during that statement. And I've submitted a criminal complaint in cooperation with 3 Michigan state representatives. We submitted that criminal complaint up to the Michigan Attorney General, the Michigan State Police, the Michigan Secretary of the Senate, which has sergeants at arms that can investigate. And these assertions have never been refuted on our part. I mean, so what we put into here, what we identified, things like where John Polis is asserting that his machines are not connected to the internet. He does that multiple times throughout that. Well, we've actually got the state's contract with the state of Michigan, with the voting system vendors and Dominion. In Dominion's own contract with the state of Michigan, it highlights that these systems are designed to be connected to the internet. And we've got him saying that they do thorough background checks on all their employees. Well, thanks to the efforts of my good friend Sheriff Dara Leaf and attorney Stephanie Lambert, what we've identified is a series of Dominion internal emails that assert the exact opposite. As a matter of fact, in Serbia, you're not allowed to do detailed background and checks on your employees. You're only supposed to essentially ask them for their name and address. That's it. Which by
the way, everybody, right? Which, by the way, I want to interrupt you, Patrick. When he brings up Serbia, that's where one of the big bases is for Dominion. I actually sent planes over there to extract people out of there that were whistleblowers in 2020 and late 2020 and 21. And they went. It's a whole other episode of all the money I spent to get people out of there that were going to be whistleblowers, and it all went south. And but it's all real. It's very real what went on and what still goes on over in Serbia.
And it's all going to come back full circle. That's why it's actually useful for some people that haven't been plugging in on what's happening with our elections, because they didn't have we didn't have a sounding board or a place to get the truth out like Lindell TV. It's probably worthwhile, Mike, at just getting some of this more dated information and giving everybody an update on what's actually happening today. So I told you I filed a criminal complaint with 3 other state reps. And all 3 of those entities that I talked about, including the Michigan Attorney General, said that there's nothing to see here. These aren't the droids you're looking for, and there's no basis of this. As a matter of fact, I would submit that the Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, was a little bit more pointed on that. Within 5 business days of submitting this criminal complaint that is 51 pages of evidence associated with it, she said that she had conducted a thorough investigation of the matter and said that it's not worth investigating any further. So I'm pretty persistent, as you know, Mike, and I decided to go off and issue a FOIA request. I said, I'd love to see that thorough investigation in report form. Do you have a report on this? And they said, no, they don't have a report. I said, well, let me see your communications regarding all the thorough investigation that you did between all the interested parties. And when I got back the communications for that, the only communications were on how to issue a press release that would refute our claims in the report.
So do you think? Right. So do you think that they scrubbed the investigation emails on, by the way, everybody, a FOIA, okay. By the way, a FOIA request, how do you know, Patrick? I want to ask you this question. Yeah. Everybody, a FOIA request, everybody, it's like under the Freedom of Information Act. When you have the right to request communications and stuff with government officials. So this is how we've gathered, my teams across the country have gathered even cast vote records under the Freedom of Information Act. You do this FOIA request, but like I say, Patrick, how do you know that it wasn't so damning that they just didn't scrub it from your little FOIA request because they're so corrupt? You don't know, do you?
Well, I'm pretty sure because they issued their response so quickly. It was literally within 5 business days for a 51-page complaint with detailed email assertions that they would have to go off and do background checks and validation. The good news is on all this, after getting rejected at the hoop by the folks at the state level, we now have friends in D.C. And so this same criminal complaint has been forwarded to the Department of Justice, and I can tell you that they are in possession of this letter, and they are actively working on it. So the good news is, none of this stuff disappears forever. Our data is not disappearing. I've got mine backup upon backup upon backup.
Right. And that's why everybody, another thing you can all do too, if you're on Lindell TV right now, you go to Vocal, VOCL.com, Vocal. That's our social media app. It's also our election crime bureau app. Everybody, you can learn what's going on out there in your own state, your own county, and nationwide. When we talk about, and everyone's going, well, why is Michigan important? It's all blue now. It's just like I said before, everybody. Everything we brought, everything that the reports we brought here to DC and everything, and all this 4.5 years of work tirelessly by people on the ground in all 50 states. And we all know who they are. A lot of leaders came out of the summer of 21, the Cyber Symposium, went back, your Maryland Todds of New Hampshire, and you have all these different leaders in all these Jessica of South Dakota. You got Rick Bible of Minnesota. He started long before that, though. Patrick, yourself in Michigan, which I know you started long before that. But all these people that went back and and now you're seeing stuff, we're hearing stuff that everyone kept saying to us, we don't have any evidence, there's no evidence, which has been posted here at Lindell TV forever. But you look at, when you say they tried to cover up the biggest crime, I've said it before, they tried to cover up the biggest crime. It's the biggest cover up of the biggest crime in history. But we have broke through the biggest cover up, and this is what's all coming out now, spilling out of, look what Tulsi Gabbard just the other day, they said they found these bags, burn bags they're called, everybody. And when you use a burn bag, if you're shredding evidence and you're shredding things you got to get rid of, and it's just so vast that you burn out your shredder. You couldn't, the time consumed. They put them in these burn bags, and actually they have to put their initials on them, and then you get rid of them. Well, they're all sitting around like they didn't have time to even get rid of the burn bags, it looks like. And all these stuff that's going to be coming out is absolutely huge, everybody.
Do you think those were good guys that held on to the burn bags and said, yeah, sure, I'll get rid of them, no problem. And then they hit them away. And
you don't know. Yeah. We don't know. It could have been somebody who was with a conscience that, remember everybody, this is very important too. The times we're in are different right now than they were 4 years ago and all the way up leading up to this. You're getting more and more courage out there, and that's what it's going to take. Where whistleblowers coming forward as new evidence comes out, then they feel that they're not the only one. you think of even judges, everybody, being in fear of being the first judge. Hey, you're living with a pretty nice family. Giving the nod. Crooked. Yes, there's crooked judges everywhere. There's corrupt judges. I could name a few, and I don't need to do that. You've all seen some of the court cases out there. It's disgusting. But there are real judges. And I really believe, Patrick, I believe even that judge that was down in Georgia, everybody, here's a perfect example. This judge down in Georgia was Obama appointed. It was the curling case, one of the longest running case. I believe it's a record in history for the longest running case that gave the final decision, which I'll tell you in a second. This went on for 7 years. It started out with Democrats saying, hey, these machines are bad, against crooked Brad Ratzenberger, the Republican. Then I don't think he was Secretary of State then, but he is now, or he was. And I don't know what they've been doing I haven't followed Brad of late, but crooked Brad Ratzenberger, one of the biggest uniparty blocking Republicans this world has ever known, where it verges beyond criminal. So Brad, this is curling versus Rasper. Starts out Democrat. You guys, this goes on for years. Then it gets into every time there's election come up. Well, we can't rule. We can't do anything because if we did, it would. Brad's going. It's too close to the election. We can't switch the paper. That was always the Georgia excuse. Well, then comes Alex Halderman, which I believe he is a very. I don't know what you call cyber guy. It's disturbing is what he is. He's one of the most disturbing people I've ever met in my life because he flip-flops. I believe he's I don't know what I would call him, everybody. Maybe a spy in there or something, because it's disgusting what he has done to our efforts and to the efforts of this country to get rid of these voting machines. He turned in his report. He is a cyber guy. Turned in his report, and the report, they kept blocking. Crooked CISA got the report finally. They blocked it from coming out. Finally, and people around the country, anyone who had dominion wanted that report. So then it gets all the way up to the spring. They did release the report, I believe the summer of, I don't know, maybe 23 or 22, when they released the report. Well, then everybody's concerned. So then the judge in the fall of 23, everybody, this is really important. The fall of 23, this is the judge in Georgia said, hey, we're going to move forward with this case. She didn't have to say that. She could have let it sit there indefinitely. She said, we're going to move forward. And if you question these electronic voting machines, you're not a conspiracy theorist. I took off my tinfoil hats that day. I told my employees, go make me some tinfoil hats so I can take them off. So we do all that. Then it goes to court in January of 24, everybody. Now think about this. Goes to court. Alex Halderman hacks into the machine with a ballpoint pen and flips the whole election right in front of the judge. I believe he even did it twice. Are you sure? Can you do that again? Yeah, I can do it anytime. Boom. Flips it again. Now, here's where it comes, everybody. So this judge, it gets done. She's trapped. She sees for her own eyes these corrupt machines, these easy hacking machines. Here's a guy that did it right in front of her in 5 minutes. Imagine cyber guys from the world that's going to steal all of our elections and just steal everything. But she's got to make a Georgia decision. So what she does, and now by this time, buddy, it was Democrats, Republicans, both. There were plaintiffs on both sides. Everybody wanted these machines gone. We got to do something, blah, blah, blah. So the judge is trapped. I called it, Patrick. I said, this judge is not going to make a decision before the 2024 election. She's not. If you're that judge, you're in fear. She was brave enough to say you can investigate it, but then when she was hoping that there wasn't any problems with it, and once and for all, that you could get this. That's the only thing that made sense. Once and for all, I'm not, show me what you got. These machines are fine. I believe that's what she thought, and go ahead and question it, but we should be transparent to say, hey, let's look at this. Once she looked, to be careful what you look for, she found that they're all corrupt. You can open them up, blah, blah, blah. You do whatever you want. Now she was trapped. Now, think of this. If you're that judge, everybody, and you're watching and you're going, uh-oh, what do I do? She went through the 2024 election, which judges can just sit on their butts and wait. And then just a few months ago, everybody, the spring, when Donald Trump's already in, what a great time for her to do the one thing, because she probably got phone calls going, hey, maybe you're living with a pretty nice family. You better do something and get rid of this. You know what she did, everybody? she said there was no standing. That means that she dismissed a case after 7 years on no standing. I bet you there ain't a case in history, Patrick, that's ever went that long, and a judge, out of fear, dismissed it on standing. What that means, everybody, they're saying that neither side had a right to bring this corrupt stuff to her in the first place, which she had already ruled on that. Yes, bring it to me so I can look. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. But I believe she did it out of fear for herself and her family, because that's the only thing that makes sense, everybody. So where we're at now is, yeah, it's different now. You get, everybody sees how corrupt these elections are. They're all the way down.
And you've highlighted this before. It was a blessing that that the 2020 election was stolen, because it exposed what was happening. But it's also a blessing from the perspective that a lot of people have their spirit tested, right? So this is a case where there's what I've noticed is that folks such as yourself, folks that have faith in Christ, are the ones that are fearless. They're the ones almost always. They're the ones that are willing to take whatever the world throws at them from all the arrows, and they sit there and say, no, I know what the fact is. I know what the truth is. I've seen the truth. I have evidence in support of the truth, and I'm not going to waver from my assertion. And they've stood tall. I sign all my books with 2 Timothy 1:7. For God didn't give us a spirit of timidity, but one of power, love, and self-control. And that's the way we all need to be going forward, because they're not letting up. They're going to keep their pedal to the metal on this stuff. So,
oh no, they only have this is it, you guys. Remember, we did a thing. This country's 68% red, which is the new common sense red. We know that by a whole series of other things we did. But you're exactly right, Patrick. Courage is contagious. We all got to be courageous. But I'll tell you what, that man in that White House there, the most courage I've ever seen, and he's not going to let up. He's not going to say, "Oh, you can have electronic polling books, but as long as you have paper, we can still do this." No, he knows it's A or B. There's no in between. You get rid of the machines, period. You have same-day voting. You can't, there's no option in A that will work, everybody. You can't have a partial. Now, let's just say, for all intents and purposes, part of this country, you have a big breakthrough, okay? You have a big breakthrough, and we're going, wow, this is working great. And I'm talking about, like, we have had big breakthroughs, like in Searcy County, Arkansas, where they did the last election, everybody. They did do the 2024 election with paper ballots hand counted. You know what? They were attacked for it by Sarah Huckabee Sanders and all the politicians there that went after them and said, oh, you didn't spend enough money on your equipment. I mean, it's disgusting. That should have been going, hey, look how good paper ballots work everywhere. That should have been the talk of the country. So we've got to keep going and get the word out. But they
forget the reaction. You highlighted this before. You talk about the blockers. In reward for them going off and conducting a hand count of paper ballots. I mean, this is a small county, about 7,000, 8,000 people.
Right.
In reward for doing that, they were actually banned from serving in public office for 14 years.
Yeah, but that got overturned. Oh. But yes, you're right, Patrick. Well, you are right.
They went after him like that.
Right. No, they went after him. So what that is, everybody, is exactly Patrick saying. That was a warning to the rest of the counties in Arkansas. Don't even think about going to paper ballots. We already told Claiborne County, Arkansas, you better not do it or we're going to defund your county. They'd already done that. And Searcy County said, we don't care if we're defunded. We want secure elections in our county and in our state. It's disgusting. But you guys, we are going to get breakthroughs. You've got to get everyone you know to watch Lindell TV. You start there. Go to vocal.com, VOCL.com. Go over publicly traded MLMC. We need to spread the word that people need to see the hope. And that's not watching Fox News, Newsmax, and Salem Media. The number one issue in the United States right now is our election platforms. There is no, they all come down to that. It all comes down to that. You're going to see these great things. And by the way, Patrick, as you know, as things keep getting more and more out there, the good things he's doing, that also helps people going, hey, this is what we want. So, where people might sit back and go, you know what, I'm not even going to bother and vote. This isn't making a difference. Politics don't make a difference. We've learned the bad and the good, and everyone knows that if anything else we've done is being this big voice over the last 4 years to get the word out that we have to secure our elections with paper ballots, hand count. The president, he's throwing in there too. You need an ID. You better have an ID. Of course, if you're from Minnesota, you get a driver's license there if you're an illegal alien. By Walsh, you can't even make this stuff up. So, can you imagine? I think we're the only state. I think we might be the only state that did that. He gave them all driver's license, said, but whatever you do, don't vote. Are you kidding me? What do you think they're doing? But they're driving on my streets and highways there. And it's just bizarre. And that's another thing, everybody. By the way, everybody, I'm going to be doing my show. If I leave, I'm getting my phone back from the FBI after 3 years of nonsense and nothingness. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about that on I believe Thursday. Probably do the show on Thursday. We'll see what happens. But we have a lot of good things coming up, and I want to go through all of that. And we're going to give you a report tomorrow here on Tina Peters. I know every time I come to D.C. here, the president, one of the first things he brings up, is Tina Peters. He put out a tweet the other day. He says, I want her out, Colorado. Want her out. So I don't, and people wonder, well, Mike, why doesn't he just partner? It's federal, you guys. He can't. There's a lot of things he can do, though, and I believe he's going to get them done real quick. He does not want this 70-year-old grandma in there that's a political prisoner that didn't even have a jaywalking ticket in her life. And a Gold Star mom, all she did was she had the courage. And what she's in there for, everybody, we all know, it's the biggest cover-up of the biggest crime ever. It started, this huge crime in Colorado where I just was a few short months ago. And Jenna Griswold there, crooked Secretary of State, Dominion also based there where they just deleted the 2020 election, one of the biggest crimes ever. You have to hold that 22 months by federal law, 25 months in Colorado. They deleted it all. So, but there are records here. You want to see them? Go to LindellTV.com, scroll over and get inside the machines. Well, Patrick, I guess the president's still, Tyler, is the president, are they still waiting?
He's waiting.
Oh, he is speaking. Oh, okay. No, let's switch over to him right now, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's go. Tune in for Rudy Giuliani tonight, too. He is actually going to be doing his show tonight, even though he got that terrible accent, and he's going to be getting that great Medal of Freedom Award from our president. We don't know what day yet, but so anyway, Patrick, thank you for the updates, and we'll have you on as a regular segment of who the blockers are and what we got going with our election platforms. Thank you.
Sounds good. Not gonna lie.
You ever see this guy with the pillows on Fox? My pillow guy, Mike Lindell. He is the...
Let's face it, you can't trust Big Pharma. They've already tried to block ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and raise prices on everything from antibiotics to your daily meds. Well, there's good news. All Family Pharmacy is standing up for medical freedom and helping people get the treatments they actually want. My family and I use them all the time. They made it easy and affordable without the runaround. While other pharmacies are jacking up prices, they've actually dropped theirs. Ivermectin now starts at just